he's had this recent bug since the last patch that he actually can't. He sees all these enemies. He sees the rest of his team, as normal, but the rest of his team see him as an enemy. They can't see his markers, and they can't actually see him on the map. So it'll be very interesting as they continue to loot in close quarters. If they, we may actually see a team kill, and it does pop up. They are actually teammates, but it will be interesting to see if there's an unfortunate team kill later on. But I've had that issue myself personally, and it's no fun constantly having to keep an eye on your team and making sure they don't shoot you. So as the circle starts moving in now, it looks like it's going to start touching those guys up at Zaki and soon the guys at Primor, so they'll have to get a move on. Not too worried, though, with that Tier 1 circle. Not doing too much damage, as the rest of the guys at Severny, obviously, too, are looking to get out of there with multiple vehicles. So, red zone spawning right in the middle of the circle, but we move now to Fall and NZM as they look to move in on contact with Ballbags taking out Adam.
So they appear to be making a very, very significant push towards that high ground there. Ballbags goes down. Has he gone down up there on that rooftop there? I didn't quite get that on the
RN8 looks to have knocked him out in retaliation to him taking out his teammate just from behind that wall there. Got a nice shot on Ballbag, so he's now down on top of that roof. Hopefully one of his teammates can get to him. But it looks like someone did a massive vehicle explosion, and their name isn't showing up on screen, but they just got 4 kills.
Wow, that was a team wipe by the looks of it. Yeah, that's insane.
Have no idea who actually did that, but whoever did would be very happy to get a 4K with an easy vehicle explosion. I'm sure the rest of it was a team effort, but mass calamities there. It looked like it could have been Godless. It's unsure, but he looks to be the closest, but then no one's moving in on it yet, so it's hard to tell who actually got that. But nice kills there. As the guys from Severny are now moving into the north of Ros, they're going to come in on this team fight, actually. We might have a 3-way very soon, as everyone over here at Ros is just backing off and healing up and reviving their teammates. Ballbags did get back up. Looks like Fallen got to him in time. And now he looks to be going on the flank as Smiles spots Demon over the ridge and takes him out nicely with the UMP and M16. Only with a VSS, they didn't have much time to retaliate. As Smiley Face notices Trasa, takes some shots at him. Trasa gets on the ground, starts to heal, but Smiley Face, seeing him there,
he's gone. Yeah, got him.
And with that, Ballbags also finishing off A and B. That's their entire team gone, and Ballbags' team very happy indeed. But here it is, Danzel, the guys from Severny, looking to be moving in here. They've probably heard the shots and are staying well clear. It'll be interesting to see what they do, but as they head toward GNS and the rest of the guys to the west of Ros. It's a bit of a tight circle here as we jump on with Suko Goon just to the north of Milta in a UAZ.
Appear to be going for the crate. It looks like they have gone for the crate. Whether it's gotten anything good for them, we'll soon find out, I guess. I've got to say, this is quite possibly one of the most aggressive games that we've seen so far. 64 people dead on the first circle is not something that has been really, really common in these CGL matches. So definitely teams playing a lot more aggressively in this version of the league here today.
Indeed, they've definitely changed up a lot of their playstyles, these teams, from last week. A lot more cautious last week, but they've seemed to have found their groove now as they look to get a bit more aggressive. Suko's team definitely, as they headed to that crate. Not too afraid as they went up in a pair of 2 with that UAZ and nicely secured it. It'll be interesting to see what they actually got out of that. But as a lot of those teams are in the north to northwest area, we're all moving in on the same type of region. So a lot of firefights coming soon from that direction as the guys from Primorsk also moving in along the road down there. They may well come across a loot crate, an airdrop, sorry.
Severny guys also moving south through past Pachinki. They obviously wanted no in on that Roshok battle that was going on there, decided to play the long game instead of the aggressive one.
Definitely, as those 2 teams that were at Rozhok already actually moving in a bit closer as they get pushed in by that circle. They may well run into each other here as Policeman and the guys who were originally taking some shots over at Yaz have now moved in to the eastern side of Ros. They've probably been noticed by the guys up at Smiley Face and the rest up the top of that hill, and they're just hiding behind walls, waiting for them to move in. Be interesting to see what they do here.
It looks like they're going to try and pull off a bit of an ambush here. The Smiley Faces team appear to be rocking primarily UMPs at the moment, or at least that's what they've got equipped right now. A lot of assault rifles, though, on the other team down there in the compound there. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, especially if they've got a vehicle in play now. Concentrated fire, as we've seen in this game so far, can deal vehicles a really quick and easy death. So whether they choose to engage or not here will be very interesting to see.
It looks like they didn't actually realise that they were actually there as they jumped in that Dacer and quickly got out again. But Fallen taking some shots with the M16, takes out B-Merc and finishes him off. That was a nice pick up there as Bullbags falls low. Smiley Face not too sure what he's doing, just trying to stay covered behind that hill as they take one. And Aqua died finally, who was indeed one of those players that was unfortunately had some technical issues at the start. But with them taking out one player, they may look to move on this as Smiles spots Policeman, misses the Kar 98 shot unfortunately, as they look to get a bit further back, but he's spotting out those players in the further buildings. He may actually spot Chad here as he pokes his way through the window. Isn't unsure. It's a bit hard to tell here what he spots, but he sees him up on the veranda. Chad not looking in the right direction, gets body shot. Luckily, doesn't get taken out. And as the rest of Smiles' team moves in to support.
Something to keep in mind here with Policeman and Chad's team is that both Policeman and Chad now have both used up a first aid kit each, so it's a matter of like seeing who can win the battle of attrition here as far as meds go. We've Policeman managed to use a first aid kit after getting pinned down heavily by the tree there and managed to escape fine, but it's a matter of seeing who can outlast each other when it comes to med kits and winning out a battle for the long term here.
It does actually look like a car drove straight over the top of those guys north and then now head down to that compound with Xphere and such. So they probably sussed out what's going on over there and keeping an eye on it as it looks to be Smiley and Bullbags just heading a bit further south, knowing that zone's a good kilometre or two away with only a minute to go. They have to get ready to leave if they're not going to move in on this. And Xphere and his team will be sitting there waiting, not in the circle themselves, but knowing that they'll have to go past them in the near future.
Smiley and Bullbags have also got to be very careful here because the other team that drove right past them into the next compound along, they might actually get an angle on them here, and if they decide to engage, and they'll be very, very exposed. So it'll be interesting to see how they actually decide to react to it.
It looks like Unicry and Electric now have taken some more kills since we've been over here at the north, but as the rest of the guys start to head south, it looks like the damage is done for now as they look to move away from that and just get to the safe zone in time. But with Luke Ultra and his team holding that compound, looks like they have a nice few cleanup kills as the guys move in from the west down that road. He's probably spotted out Unwanted and the rest of the guys on that team, but with 2 dropping low, Xphere's knocked out Policeman actually now as we move away from that area. But we'll see the damage from that later on as Stylen, as what we predicted actually did happen as Policeman and those guys headed in the direction of Xphere. They do get taken out from that compound, which is incredibly unlucky, but with good positioning from Xphere, they do deserve those kills. As we are still on board with Luke Ultra and Electric, they are well aware of those guys to the west, with NZ Girl and Raz moving in from that direction as well. They'll have plenty of players to pick off if they get the angle on them, but with a lot of players moving in. Incredibly, Futes and Danzel and the rest of those guys still very far away from the safety of the white zone, as it looks like they're just leaving Futes. I'm not sure if they're on the same team. It's hard to tell from this overview map and without a complete knowledge of the teams so far, with only in week 2. But as a lot of vehicles in play, all driving around, all trying to get to that precious compound to stay safe in, a lot of players moving in towards the centre of the zone now.
Dozzy now getting engagements on one of the team down there, Sardu's team down there, who appear to be locked down by the beach on one of those buildings there. Appears to be finishing up one of the kills there, and not ending well for those guys over there.
Indeed, as Dozzy gets a nice peek on those guys at the beach. He'll be keeping an eye on that with that third person as Sardu and the rest of those guys made it to a compound, so they're just trying to heal up and stay safe now that they've lost a player. But a lot of action going on now. We've dropped to just over 50 players are still alive as that zone begins to close. It's Dozzy still taking some shots at Chemical Nova on that roof. Not got too much of a player model to shoot at, so he's not hitting too many of them, but he's definitely giving some pressure, keeping them inside.
Yeah, right now, all they need to do is play the long game. They're in the circle. They don't need to get rushing out anytime soon. It's the other teams that they need to worry about as they start coming into the circle. The guys that were all the way up in Severny now pushing down the coastline there, trying to get an angle in. And we've also got a few guys coming in from the north as well. So going to see a lot of players from a lot of different directions here, sort of converging on the same location here, which will result in a fairly chaotic final stage of this match.
Definitely. It looks like Stalin and Xphere's teams, the infamous conspiracy, did actually move in to lead those guys that were just to the east of Roshawk. So now they're still in the zone, but they are moving into safety. So good couple of kills for them. Nice loot gain as Luke Ultra scoping in, knowing that one more player's there. He's picked up a nice few kills from that team as Unwanted, just camping out behind that yellow building, not wanting to peek too soon with an SKS. He's no match for the three 3 or 4 guys standing there in that building with all their eyes pointed straight at him.
Looks like he's also trying to build up a little bit of health before he decides to make any movements. Build up a little bit of a buffer in case he does get hit by a stray car ground or something like that.
Indeed, it looks like he might get lucky here as another team may be moving in from the west. They may take his eyes off him. It might not be in time though, as he looks to begin his move, as some players are still far outside that zone and they won't come here in time as he looks to run towards the beach in the cover of that building still. It will be a bit of luck if he doesn't get shot here, but it would have to be a pretty good shot by the Luke Ultras team to land that kill. As
he did get hit.
He did get hit 1 or 2 times, but only taking him to just below half health. He looks to bandage up again, and if Luke Ultra's team doesn't look to move in on this, he may well get away with it.
Very, very much so. So the circle appeared to have finally pushed the guys that are in Pachinki out of the circle. We've got Fuchs over here making his way into the circle, racing to try and beat the clock here, essentially. He is going to run straight into the fortification that Luke Ultra has set up, so how that'll go out for him, we'll soon find out. But being on low health and running straight into their line of fire, essentially, might not end as well for him as he would like.
Definitely, as Unwanted looks to be heading straight towards the beach. A few of those players on No Joke Esports, consisting of Luke Ultra and Stowe, are actually flanking down towards the south, trying to get an angle on him as he gets closer towards that beach. But with Fuchs coming in, they will probably hear his UAS as it comes in, and that may take a bit of the attention away from him. But it looks like Fuchs has jumped out, looking to heal up a bit more before he continues that journey. He still has a minute before the zone moves in, as No Joke Esports realise that they need to get ready to get to the zone, and that's what they're heading towards right now.
Yeah, it appears to be their lucky day because Luke Ultra has at least decided to take Shara up to the hill there and maybe even sort of start making their way towards the circle and take their attention away from Fuchs there and Unwanted. But Electric still looks like his eyes keen on Fuchs there, trying to keep an eye out for any flanks that they might try to pull off.
It looks like Fuchs is by himself. I'm not sure we didn't catch much of the action. I'm not of what happened to the rest of his team, but they may well think there's a full-on squad down there, so Electric just keeping his eyes on it, but Fuchs heading towards the north, just trying to get to the safety of the new zone, as No Joke Esports will have to too. Unwanted probably is in a bit of a pickle here, using up most of his meds, I'm assuming, and with no vehicle in sight. He has a bit of a walk in front of him, as the rest of those guys down to the south, Danziel and JG, are heading there on foot as well. A lot of teams heading in now, and that consists of Nutshot as we jump on board with him, moving in from the southeast with the rest of his team. They look to have spotted out or heard at least the guys at the top of this hill, one of which is in the Wish Tower, and the rest all spread out along the wooding area.
Look, I'm not a gambling man, but if I was to put my money on anything, I'd say we're about to see a bit of a firefight right here now on both of the Harry Potter hut, if you will, and the just in the lumber mill in general. Seems to be freaking up on Champs. Might be able to get the drop on him if he's lucky, if he keeps his attention focused on Champs here.
It looks like they've actually gone in the middle of this team with another player off to the east.
Oh, wow,
they
yeah.
get flanked and shot in the back if they're not careful. And with some interesting positioning from this team, they definitely won't be expecting it. But if he turns around now, he will spot them, but they will spot him too as they begin to keep going north. This is interesting. They're very close, actually.
Oh, there's the flank right there. It's going to happen.
It looks impossible that he hasn't tell. He must see them now as sees them up the hill. So it's incredible that he hasn't.
Oh, they're right on top of each other. How have they not seen each other?
He's just Nutshot's not close enough to see him probably, but someone else on his team is. They're right on top of each other. This is incredible. He might be just behind the tree. They look to have engaged now. Disabuse does take him out, finishing off Dozzy. Nice kill for him as the rest of Nutshot's team move in to support, but it's too late for Dozzy now as Champs gets shot. And this looks to be quite a turnaround as the other two guys on their team move in from the back, taking out Nutshot with an incredible M4 shot. As Champs looks to get a bit more aggressive on Disabuse, takes him out.
Oh, just drops him. Nice.
Looks like Danknam is Champ's the only one left on their team. It's gone horribly wrong for these guys with some nice positioning for them. He takes some shots to Palladium, doesn't look to do any damage, however, as Why Am I Here, I believe is his name, I'm not too sure, moves in from the side. Looks like he's got his work cut out for him as he drops shots Palladium, takes him down to just below half health as Wire Everywhere is moves him from the side. Champs looking to heal up quickly, doesn't see him coming, moves in time and gets taken out. Incredibly unlucky there for Nutshot and his team as they just get taken out, and Disabuse lives. Champs not choosing to finish him off. Incredibly lucky for those guys as they just there's no reason for them to predict that Disabuse was there, and just getting that one first kill getting taken out with the rest of the team moving in, and then those shots in the back. It was just incredibly well played by them, if not a bit lucky.
It really just goes to show that you don't, like, to be effective as a team, you do not have to be right on top of each other. You know, you keep a bit of a spread out going, you can cover more angles, you can ensure that if at least one person gets flanked, you can outflank the guys accordingly with the other half of your team. And the guys just goes, Weimar here and Potassium just went to show that now.
Definitely. Dozzy was incredibly close to that first player, Disabuse, hiding behind that tree. It was incredible how close they got to each other before he sprung his trap, but obviously just prone behind a tree, you can do very well in that long grass and easily takes out that first kill and collecting the entire team's kills in the end, which was very well played. But we jump on board with Hakai V2 as he's spotted out a few of the guys down in that building. It looks like Luke Ultra is the only one there at the moment. The rest of his team may well have gotten into a bit of trouble, but as he's just hiding in the middle of what it looks like. He's just behind a fence. I was wondering why we couldn't see him. I thought, did it look like he was much further away, but he's just behind a fence in the middle of the courtyard. It's incredible how Godless hasn't seen him, and it looks like he has now. Choosing to third person could have been a massive mistake.
Oh, that was close.
Godless chose to third person him, and it nearly went very horribly wrong for him, dropping down to just a % of health, but it does collect on that kill, and looks like No Joke Esports has been eliminated from this first game, which is unfortunate, as they did do incredibly well last week, so hopefully we'll see more of them later tonight. But with Godless taking them out, they will all know that the rest of the team is gone, so they will move into loot, as they're in a prime spot for this last circle. This latest circle, sorry. As Smiley Face taking some shots at Mike Ez and the rest of his team in those buggies as they try to run away from the zone.
Quite a few impressive shots there, but they've got to get moving to the circle now as it's closing in on them fast, and at this stage of the game, circle's starting to get to a point where it's a little bit higher damaging, it's a bit more of a concern. You can't exactly tank it out as easily, especially when you need as much health as you can get in this stage of the game.
Definitely Smile looking to just heal up nicely, doing some good damage there, but with Smiles and Headlow just in the middle of the field here, not too much protection as Smiles looks to get aggressive on Headlow and Stardude. It looks like it might be an interesting fight.
2v1 here,
He's extremely pushed up. The rest of his team not too close as they move in now to support him, but Headlow, not knowing that, hiding behind the tree, looking to push back. They may well move into the tunnels here as looking a bit more aggressive, moves around the left-hand side, spotting out a player or two behind those rocks. He looks to get some spray down, does drop ball bags, looks to run to cover though now in the tunnels as he reloads with Smiles just a few meters away.
Smiles quite possibly waiting to play the long game here with him, waiting to see if he comes out of the tunnels. The circle is going to push him out of there eventually, so it might be a more beneficial play to wait for him. That said, though, Hideo appears to be choosing another exit, which might actually be the downfall for this team if he can get the right flank.
Definitely, as he's moving through those tunnels, I don't know if Smiles, they've probably got a suspicion that he may well be in there, but they're not looking to get aggressive on any of the other entrances as he moves through those tunnels, looking to pop up on the other side. As he just gets repositions, he has to be careful though not to accidentally run into the blue zone, but it looks like he'll be all right just on the edge of it for now. But with 30 seconds to go before that zone moves, he may well choose not to try and re-engage and take this bike that's nicely placed here and get on out of here. Is he?
Stupidly convenient for him, it really is. I've never ever seen that be the case. The bike just parked there ready for you, except he's going to do like a 1 million point turn maneuver to get out of there. And it doesn't look like they've heard or noticed him though, so this might actually pay off for him. And if he plays the long game, he might be able to place high for his team and get a few extra points on the board.
Definitely, it looks incredibly convenient, impossibly convenient actually for Headlow there just to find a motorcycle as he moves in behind Bazooks. He will come across this other team at Godless. Hopefully he doesn't choose to drop out here. It may well be the end of him as he does.
No, he has. Oh no.
This could be a bit aggressive for him. We have lost visual, unfortunately, just for a moment. But as he moves in on this house, it may well be the end of him unless something magical can happen. Just hanging out outside the building, Godless probably can see him, but will have no chance to shoot at him just yet. Interesting place for an airdrop just there. But with nice. Two UAs...
on the topic of stupidly convenient, how about that airdrop?
Definitely. As Headlow looks to maybe camp out that bottom room. Nice. It's very open with the windows all around, but if the rest of the teams are upstairs. There's no reason for them to check out. They'll probably know he's there, but not too confident on exactly where. With Smiley Face and Fallen putting some pressure on, they may well have just been too distracted to notice as Xfear and the rest of those guys continue to get some shots off at the rest of the guys over to the east. Lots of teams dropping low now with only 20 or so players remaining, and a lot of those actually knocked out. It'd be interesting to see how many players actually are going to survive to this final circle.
Speaking of the final circle favours players such as Bazooks, who are currently holed up in that two-story building down there. So they don't have to move a lot, and they can actually play a really defensive game here to sort of outlast the remainder of the open field engagements that are going down here. Neon Mimic, as we're following right now, took a hit there. He's got to try and find out where the angle came from. Got to be careful not to get too close into that blue zone, as he had 46 seconds left to get into the safe zone here.
Definitely looking to take a few shots off. They will have to get a move on, though, as they unload some bullets on those guys down at the tree who moved in to try and get the revive, but gets punished for it by Stylen, who takes him out with the Khan on the 8. Neon dropping incredibly low himself as he has 25 seconds to go before the zone moves, but looks to probably have not many too many meds left as he gets dropped now by K2. The rest of the guys down here at this building. Looks like Fallen and Smiles moved in. 3 teams, actually, all around this single building as it looks to get a bit aggressive with Smiles hanging outside that exterior door. Fallen just there to back him up with Headlow in the ground floor. If he knows what he's doing here, he should probably let this play out and hopefully not engage too early. But Ballbags getting a bit aggressive on his doorway. He may have no choice.
So he's got the UIs there for cover on both ends. The grenade just absolutely failed there, so Ballbag's got to really get out of the way of that grenade there from that UIs end. Headlow might actually be able to use the vehicles as an advantage here by blowing them up, seeing if he can get a bit of a chain reaction going and kill off some of these players. Being engaged by Smiley Face now, doesn't get the drop on him, tries to close the door to get a little bit of more defensive capabilities going on there, but 2v1, not going to last long, gets taken out.
Unfortunate for Headlow there, with Smiley being incredibly low. Only a bullet or two would have dropped him, but not knowing that, tries to close the door and get away with it, but unfortunately does drop there. Without Smiley Face's team knowing, he actually wasn't a part of the rest of the guys upstairs if they haven't been keeping track of who's dying. So there's another full squad waiting for them upstairs, hearing all of that commotion and waiting to pounce as they try to move up. Stylen and Xfear looking to move in on this other building, however, with Plutonium and those guys inside. Stylen choosing to throw a few high explosive grenades through the window, with Xfear just a bit further back for cover through those other windows with his chosen weapon. But Stylen, everything, all the action choosing to happen around these buildings, obviously, with that tiny circle. Only 13 remaining, and looks to be interesting to see what happens here with K2, the sole survivor of his own team, hiding out at that exterior door himself.
Smiles and this other team on the other side, I can't quite catch the player names. They're literally a wall away from each other from, absolute hell breaking loose here. It'll be interesting to see, which team has the grenades here, because the grenades could play a huge part in this little engagement. It looks like they're going to go for the more direct route, tries to get a few shots off, manages to tag him a couple times, gets him down. Smiles goes down completely.
It's going to be a 1-for-1 there as Godless and the rest of his guys in that final room. Fallen looking to maybe have done a bit of team damage there.
Yeah, there's a little bit of friendly fire.
Looks like the rest of that team, though, did jump off the veranda or the balcony and trying to get away from that. Hopefully K2 still safe outside that exterior door, just trying to rack up those points for placement now with Smiley Face up on the balcony, just trying to get an eye in. But in a very nice spot there for K2. I'm not too sure if he's in the zone. He may well not be as he opens the door and actually moves in. He's hoping to find a new position where he can be safe, but very well played by him. Just trying to get those placement points and trying to get into a good position to hopefully clench a kill or two later on in the game.
Making a very ballsy push there to get some cover, and it might pay off for him. I think he's only just managed to get inside the circle. He's on a position to drop some players, and he manages to pull it off, but the zone might get him here.
Oh, one tick away from dropping there, but does get away. It looks like the rest of the team that this player he dropped is actually in no position to move on him now. Xfear naded him. I thought K2 blew himself up with a HE grenade then. That would have been incredibly funny, but it was actually Xfear's timing there with a HE grenade to finish him off. XPL picking up numerous kills there as he moves in on the X outside, just cleaning up with that Scarel as Bazook still hiding around the inside. Looks to be just a handful of players, but with a lot of teams still alive here, with only Plutonium's team and Stalin's team with numbers of players.
Hakai V2 on the top floor along with Plutonium. You've got Bazooks on the bottom, Style and XPI and Xsphere all hanging around on the outside here. So the teams inside the house now have got to make a move. They've got to get out of that house to match for the zone, which is moving in as we speak. But it's a matter of seeing whether Xsphere's got those doors locked down or who's going to make a move first. And Bazooks looks like he's going to go make for a run out the back, try and take some of the damage of the blue zone here. He might even try to outlast the blue zone and just wait for these other players to sort of just start shooting each other up. But they're all making a move now. Oceania gets the drop of Bazooks, and Hakai V2 is now all up to him to try and win this for his team. It's not going to happen.
Looked to be too easy there for Conspiracy as they clean up on the outside of that building with the other teams having no choice but to leave. It looks to be too easy for them as they pick up 17 kills between them. Only a 3-man team, and they managed to win it. Incredibly well played by them to pull that off with no players going down and with a disadvantage from the start. 17 kills, incredible performance with Xsphere picking up 7 of those, Starlin and XPL both picking up 5.
Some fantastic positioning, fantastic game from all the players there. Very, very well done.
Thank you so much for joining us for Game 1. We will be right back in about 10 minutes for the second game. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to CGL Season 2, Week 2, Night 2, Game 2. As joining me again is Kamikaze as we load into this second game with quite an interesting finish there, with a lot of teams dying very quickly outside Milta, with Conspiracy gaining a very comfortable first place, losing no team members, but with actually only 3 to start with. Very well played by them, with Taiwanese Titans clutching a nice second there thanks to Hakai, I believe, and Lunatics coming in third. Cam.
It was a very frantic start to the match for sure. I think quite possibly the most frantic game we've seen as of yet in CGL. But something to note is that Conspiracy in the ladder prior to these matches are 20 seconds. So that victory there is actually going to bump them up big time. And Taiwanese Titans and Lunatic X are actually still sitting up on fourth and fifth place in the CGL tournament as well. So that win for Conspiracy is actually going to put them up onto the level of Lunatics and Taiwanese Titans if they can keep up that sort of theme for the rest of the night, which is a very, very helpful win for them tonight.
Definitely. Actually only on 22nd place, 2 from the bottom as of the end of last week. So that win definitely will push them up nicely into that hopefully top 10 position. But we didn't see much there from the current leaders of the bracket, with Marcel's Bakery and Succulent Sniping Esports not doing much. We did see a bit from No Joke, but unfortunately didn't catch too much from the current first and second place people on the leaderboard, as we join now with the plane coming in from a southwesterly direction, nearly the complete opposite of what we saw last game, as it moves in between Military and Pachinki. Really opening up pretty much everything on the map here to long jump towards Georgia Pole and Novo, but also flying across all the main cities in the middle of the map.
Yeah, we're also going to see possibly some action at Severny. Literally every single possible place you'd want to go here at the start of the game, besides Zaki, but let's be honest, it's Zaki we're talking about here, is in play. So we might see a bit more of a spread out play this time around. We might see less action at the start of the game, but who knows? Teams have appeared to have changed up their strategies big time since last week. So it'll be interesting to see what team goes where and what kind of action we see at the start of the game.
Definitely. It looks like a handful of teams did choose to jump towards Military. It looks like Suburb jumped out by himself pretty early, not giving him his team much choice possibly to follow. But as they head towards Military, a lot more players also heading towards the Primos direction, and up towards Gakka, with a lot of players choosing to head south, but also the majority heading towards north, Yasmaya and Roshok as such. I'm not sure if there's too many going towards apartments, but it'll be definitely a lot of action in those northerly cities in just a few moments.
Something we've also noticed is Danizel and Sky is Blue have also made a rapid U-turn. They were first heading to Pachinki, Roshok / school area, but they made a quick U-turn to the bunkers by the looks of it. So they've obviously made a quick change in plans on their strategy. Whether it'll pay off or not for them, we'll soon find out. They might get access to some fairly decent loot there, considering they're all by themselves over there at Shelter.
Definitely. It looks like a lot of action might be popping up very soon at school here. Hopefully we can jump on board with that, with 2 teams landing there. Unicry coming in late, still on his parachute, but with Champs finding a quick pistol, players on multiple levels. Hopefully some action will come very soon with these very skilled players all in a very close proximity.
Very much so. You can remember that Bazooks was a part of the final engagements there in the last game, and he appears to have already been hit pretty heavily. So it might be a very early out for the first stage of the game here. Nutshot trying to get some nice and easy shots through the roof hatch there. Quite possibly my favourite direction to go whenever I land on school with his shotgun in hand. So we'll see if it pays off for him. Going to get a quick down on Come On Me there, but gets knocked out by Fat Texter quickly. His teammate there to support him with a rifle in hand as well.
Definitely. It looks like Bazooks actually did get knocked out by Nutshot, and Nutshot then follows up with another kill on Come On. But Dozzy finishes him off himself, and Fat Texter gets down by Dozzy, as Fat Texter carrying his team here, not having too much of a chance to revive his teammate here. But with Nutshot getting revved by Champs just leaning around the wall with his pistol, trying to suss out what's going on, but makes a quick run down the hallway and around the corner. Bazooks actually did get revived, and he has very little health as he comes in around the corner to support Fat Texter and resolves as those 4 guys get back together. Nutshot and Champs just down the end of this hallway. They look to be engaging. Champs gets the kill on resolves as he finishes
and
him off.
Knocks him straight out of the game.
Very well played by him here, as he gets another drop shot on Bazooks, I believe, but with Come On dropping Nutshot, it looks like it'd be a fair trade here as Fat Texter goes into the classroom, looks to get him through the window very nicely with the pistol there. It looks to be a pistol wars just down the edges of this window. Fat Texter in a nice corner, not getting spotted out here as Chance looks to run down the hallway. Fat Texter will definitely hear that, but maybe just reviving Fat Texter, trying to peek him through that wall. Bazooks is still alive, but very well played by him as he gets some shots up and does actually finish off Chance. Incredibly well played there by Fat Texter. I have never seen that done before in a CGL game, going up to one of those windows and just catching a player completely off guard, but well played by him. Definitely deserves those kills.
Maintained the pressure, ensured that he executed properly, and it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, the entirety of Fat Texas' team actually survived that school engagement, meaning that they're going to come out... No, correction, that is 3 players from Fat Texas, so the majority of their team walking out that firefight, which will hopefully let them either some good loot and which will put them in a better position for the later stages of the game here.
Definitely. Lunatic's doing very well in game 1, doing extremely well also at school early in this second game as well with Style and getting some nice shots off there on Kiwi and Super. Drops 2 with Xphere finishing off one of them as one player looking to get revived quickly behind that Caravan. Style just keeping an eye on it with just over 50% health here with another player downed a bit further away. They're definitely in the prime position here on the veranda as Funkster, revived his teammate. Nearly went to a place of no return there, but luckily caught myself off guard as I reread what I saw on the screen. Looks to get around the back of the building there and makes a run for it with the pistol in hand. Not looking to get into too much trouble there as Xphere and Stalin look to give chase with their assault rifles and UMPs.
He is horribly outgunned, so right now the flight path is the better choice to make. It looks like he's crossed between those 2 houses, but Stalin had no idea that he was making that route, so he might have just gotten away with it there out of pure luck. No, he's actually managed to make it into the house there. Whether he finds a rifle of any kind, that would be a huge help to him right now. He might actually be able to just camp it out in this building for a little bit here. Managed to get some health down. He's also got a double-barrel shotgun in hand. Might serve him well as time goes on, but we'll soon find out.
Doesn't look like Style and the rest of his team have much clue where he went off to. Just searching those buildings a bit carefully, but if one of them do end up in that building and open that door, they will be greeted with a nice double barrel as Stalin finishes off Schoolyard. So well played by them. One player remaining up in that building, so we'll have to watch out as time progresses with that. But as we zoom out at an incredibly eastern circle here, covering the majority of Novo, and Milta. So a lot of players who did opt to go in that westerly direction will have quite a journey on hand as Headlow swims out towards the airdrop. Be interesting to see what he picks up here just off the coast of Novo as the no boats in sight, so he chooses to swim out. Has recently dropped, obviously. He has an SKS and an M16, so it'll be interesting to see if he swaps out anything. Looks like he got the M24.
Nice.
Very nice pickup by him. We'll be able to transfer most of his SKS attachments, bar a vertical foregrip under that. So very nice pickup for him indeed, carrying across the ammo as well. So and grabbing the tier 3 helmet. So a very worthwhile crave for him. Easily picks it up and swims back to shore with the rest of his team continuing to loot down at Novo. It looks like actually another team moving in from military, just towards that bridge though. So there might be a bit of contention there if they start to come across each other. But with Psycho up in that building, he will be keeping an eye out. He will have spotted probably the Headlow out of that airdrop. So he may well have reconned that to his team, knowing that there's a team down at Novo there. Could be waiting for them as they choose to push out of there.
Psycho Green appears to be playing the forward role here, attempting to get a bit of recon on the enemy team, maybe down in Novo right now, sort of providing the forward eyes for his team, making sure that he can at least keep certain tabs on them, especially if they manage to get a vehicle there, because they don't want Headlow to get very far with that crate weapon if they manage to see him getting out there.
Definitely very nice pickup for him, and they may not have known that it was an M24, but they will be suspicious with their eyes keeping on Novo, as a lot of those players that were in Pachinki opting to move on towards that zone now, with a red zone dropping on the western side of it. GNS and those guys looking to be trapped in those buildings for the time being, unless they choose to make a run for it. But with a lot of those players now over at George and in North George, they've got an incredibly long journey. With Hakai placing second last game, he's on the complete western coast of the map, so he'll have a massive journey in front of him, as hopefully he has a vehicle, and the rest of those guys at Primorsk as well. So a lot of players looking to make a long journey here. They may well encounter each other in very soon. Sorry, I thought someone got down then as we swapped back to Psycon, but it looks like they're still keeping tabs on things. I thought they were in the middle of a firefight. But nevertheless, they're just still camping out. Not too sure what's going on there. But with Adam from Oz now over here at these apartment blocks just outside of school, looks to be the only team in those the apartment block area. So just running around, looting up nicely with the Scarrel and UMP. Probably would know that there is some action over at school previously and that there was a team over there. Not looking to keep too much eyes on it, though, at the moment, as those guys from school heading in the northeasterly direction, probably looking for a vehicle to make the rest of the journey with. But
it's quite possible that Aaron B and Demon have managed to get eyes on that team now, so we might actually see an engagement. Actually, no, they're not focusing on them at all, so Bazooks might get the drop on them, depending on who actually gets eyes on which team first. They're deciding to do a bit of an attachment swap here, out in the open though, which can be a bit concerning, especially considering there is a team literally just across the road from them.
Definitely. A new red zone now covering multiple teams over Roshawk and School. A lot of those teams will actually have to go through that to get to the zone. They may opt to go towards the south, probably not over the river to the north though. So maybe multiple teams will run into each other very soon as they all start to get a move on that zone just outside.
Look, Ultra picking off some nice and easy shots there on, is that Danksnurm down there? I can actually read that name. Getting some nice easy shots on Danknum. Getting some nice easy shots on him down there, deciding to opt out of that engagement though, because they do have to start moving for circle relatively soon, especially if they don't want to be rushed into the circle, out of their control. That said though, is an early stage circle. They can play for time if they choose to do so.
Looks like the guys at Primorsk actually opted out of that area very soon, well in front of the circle, so they left quite early. But it looks like back at Novo, Sardud had dropped, so a little bit of action there with those two teams finally colliding. But we jump back on board with Headlow now, who is just at that very southern area of Novo, taking some M24 shots at that team who are right on the cliff, who have plenty of room to move back. But with Sardud down, he's probably untainted. He's probably just going to move in for the revive with Headlow covering.
We also got Neon Mimic, who appears to be on another team to the west there, sort of getting in on and enjoying the engagement here. They might see if they can get a flank, maybe even pick up that M24 and put themselves in the advantage that Headlow has currently got himself in.
Definitely.
You can see Kanzetsu is having a look over and seeing if he can get eyes on any of those teams there.
Definitely. He's well aware of the positioning of those guys at Novo. Probably has lost sight of those other ones that they were shooting at previously, though. Not opting to take any shots, not wanting to draw the wrath of that M24 just yet, but keeping his eyes on. Well played by them. Definitely here's the vehicle now travelling to his southwest. As it drives well past, he'll probably know that and opt to keep his eyes on those guys at Novo.
Headlow definitely well aware of the team. In fact, he's actually managed to spot them, so he's now got eyes on them. But what Headlow doesn't know is how spread out this other team is. Kanzetsu's team is currently all over Novo. They've got one guy to the direct south, one to the west, and they've also got a couple guys coming in from the north as well. So if Psychogoon, Kanzetsu, Neon Mimic, and Suburb manage to pull this off correctly, they might actually be able to get this other team here in complete and utter confusion, really, and manage to take advantage of that.
Definitely. It looked like something interesting popped up in the chat just then. It looked like Electric ran over Shiria with a vehicle, but then he blew up. I'm not exactly sure what just happened in the chat. We didn't actually see it in person, but he hit someone with a car and then blew up. So interesting development there. We'll probably hear a bit more about it later on as they're looking to be outside the zone, but a big collision there. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but it was interesting to see him get a run over kill and immediately following that, him blowing up. So I'm not exactly sure what sacrifice he made to do that, but hopefully it was worth it for him.
It's clear that RM Jesus was not smiling upon him on this day.
It definitely, because I believe Electric and Shiria are on the same team, so I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but it may have been something with them crashing or something, but it was just, I'm not sure. They blew up and they ran each other over. But with a lot of those teams now moving in from the west, lots of fights breaking out with 70 players remaining. Aram, I'm not exactly sure. A text is not loading in. Okay, he's in an apartment block. I thought he was walking on trees, and I was deeply impressed there. But I believe he's just inside some buildings, as just inside the zone now, with multiple teams around those apartment blocks. Looks like 3 different separate teams, all with their eyes on, possibly 4 actually, with XV just behind a rock out in the open, healing up, still outside the zone, not wanting to break cover just yet.
Knows that if he makes a push right now, he will basically, the guys like around B will have eyes on him, and Adam Bramaz will as well. So making a push like this right now, he's going to play for time in the circle, try and tank some of the damage here, maybe even get to a better position with the rest of his team further up the hill.
Definitely. It looks like Smileyface and his gang have chosen to jump in the vehicles, make a run for it, with Tintin in a different team, taking some shots actually with style and dropping Haram B with the M16. Very well played by him. But those guys just hugging the circle with a minute 45 left before they have to get a move on. But they are somewhat of a distance away from safety. And with no vehicle in sight, they probably will opt to just make a runner.
Quite true, and if they keep running the way they're going, they might even run into Futes and BLNKFCE. And when you're making a direct sprint for the circle like this, you tend to, be more susceptible to running straight into enemies that are ready and waiting for you. So very risky play. Meanwhile, Giraffe Holy getting a drop there on what appeared to be Nudinator.
Definitely, I believe Adolf's Angels Futes, his teammate is actually his name's actually Blankface, which is a bit of funny way of him spelling with those underscores. But BLNKFCE or whatever is also another way of pronouncing it, I'm sure. But with Giraffe Holy behind that tree, taking some shots off at BPRC as they both jump in behind that smoke at that tree, taking some more shots now. The other guys does get retaliated on for it. Everyone on that team, though, incredibly low, with him low himself. They are healing up, though, now, and he does get dropped by Nudinator over at that first tree. Unlucky for him there, but he did get a lot of them extremely low. Unfortunately, couldn't capitalize on that, however.
Smoke grenades running left, right, and center, but it's not going to be enough. They're going to move in and get a nice and early loot on him. Very, very nice resupply on some much-needed supplies there, I'm sure. A lot of teams now still with a lot of ways to go to get to the circle there. Tintin, for example, and Demon still got a lot of ground to make up there. Hopefully they can find a vehicle, otherwise they will be making a very straight beeline to that circle, very susceptible to any ambushes that other people might have set up for them. That said, though, we're going to see a lot of engagement there on the northern side of the current circle there. Lots of teams now driving around. In fact, we're seeing a lot. It's like a Mad Max film here. People driving left, right, and center, all shooting out windows.
Definitely looks like Gat Kaki are all in that US, chasing down an orange Dacia with a few players leaning out the windows. Hopefully no team kills coming there, but taking some shots off at Bazooks and them, all incredibly low actually, all probably below 50% as they lean out themselves and try to take some shots back. Bazooks still quite healthy at the wheel of that car as they continue to run away. They may actually run into another team here to their left at that compound, but may just be out of reach for now. But with more teams moving in on that area, it could very well be the end of them. Ballbag is actually moving in on a vehicle incredibly quickly in that UAZ. Might run into another team here. Smileyface up on those cliffs already. Looks like we've lost visual, unfortunately. But with those two colliding very shortly, it may well be a very quick death for one of them.
Oh, we've had a crash. That's what's going on there.
Definitely. It's unfortunate we have a crash, but we'll be rejoining the lobby in just a few minutes. So if you just stand with us, we'll be for that. But with that zone moving in over Milta, with so many players still alive, there's a lot of buildings for them to camp out in, luckily. So it may well be an incredibly high player-based game coming into those final circles.
Quite possibly, and there's also still a chance for the circle to even end up sort of on the Milta power plant side, maybe even on the peninsula, which can often end up being a really, really intense game if you use the coastline for cover there. So it's going to be interesting to see how that final stage plays out, whether we'll see more of an urban environment or coastline or somewhere in an open field.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to seeing a few more shots off with that M24 from Novo. I'm not sure exactly if they've moved out of that area just yet or if the circle's still allowing them to stay there, but they'll most likely opt to find a vehicle, a boat, in fact, and make their journey by water to the mainland if that is so required. But with a lot more of those teams also still heading in from the west, hopefully they've found vehicles, the ones that need to, and don't get chunked too badly by the zone. But as we just reconnecting to the game now, we'll have visual just momentarily with that zone finally closing in on that, with another one about to spawn. We are in the middle of the field, actually. A lot of those players looking to have made it. Tintin and his team just on the edge of the circle may well have made it just before the barrier hit them. Lucky for them, as two more teams around them move in from the same direction, so they may well collide very soon. But with 63 players alive, it's definitely
there we go.
A high player-based game.
High player-based game for sure, and it's going to be centering on Milter, give or take, with a couple of fields in between them all. So we're going to see a lot of players having to make pushes through open fields here to get to cover, and cover is going to be really ropey in this sort of final circle. So people who don't make plans to move early and find a piece of cover are going to be horribly disadvantaged in this situation, especially with anyone who happens to have their hands on their M24.
Definitely. It looks like NZ Girl on the cliff, very separated from her team by at least 100 meters with Kenzetsu in the middle of that. They may have spotted her, and there could be a team fight here with NZ Girl completely separated. If she goes down, it will be very unlikely she'll get a revive. But with Psycho and his teammate incredibly split up, he's got eyes on NZ Girl. This could be interesting to see what happens as NZ Girl moves in on Psycho's position. It'll be very hard for him to third person this kill, but if he moves up the ledge, he might go for it. But he opts to not. He's just staying safe, knowing that he only has one other teammate alive. He doesn't want to risk anything just yet, as NZ Girl luckily makes it back to her teammate, jumps in that Dacia, and get regrouped, heading towards that compound just inside the zone, which Psycho will have to do very soon as well. Interesting to see that. I mean, Psycho probably knows where they're going to go. That compound is probably the choice. So opting not to take an open kill like that where possible, it would probably result in his death, obviously, with 3 more guys moving in. But if he played it right with his teammate, they could have cleaned up there with all the attention drawn to him. Kenzetsu could have got some clean kills, but opting not to do that, playing the passive game here. But it looks like Terabad has an idea that there's some players around, so it may well backfire for them in the future. But with that new circle spawning now over Milter Power and Milter itself, a lot of those players having to move in from the coastline and from Roshock and such, as per earlier, a lot of players are going to run into each other as Xphere knocks out Plutonium with this Scar-L. Nice play by him there, but we're on board with Rennie.
We've also got an engagement here with Stylen and Goddles here, back in the same, basically the same area where we had the closeout of the previous game there. Grenades going left, right, and center. Team, which appears Xpire's team, is actually making a bit of a split here, trying to get a flank on Senzu here, and they managed to actually get him down. Whether his team will be there to back him up, we'll soon find out.
Definitely. If you are a new player to PUBG, it's very informative to watch these players play. Very well skilled players they are indeed, and as they split up around that building, they get multiple different angles on this team that are very grouped up on that hill. So they get, if one of those players down that hill chooses to go on one side of a tree to block himself, he'll completely expose himself to another player. So very well played by them. If you are a new player, choose to opt these type of strategies into your own games, and you'll find a lot of success out of it. As you see these players split up and move around, Godless, in fact, knowing that all hope is probably lost for his teammates, chooses to run away, and smart play by him there in the circumstances, because there was probably no surviving that. But well played by Tintin and Xphere as they move down that hill, and a very nice split by them.
Exactly. The power of splitting up and flanking accordingly is unparalleled, really. You know, a lot of teams, and especially in standard PUBG matches, tend to, go by the idea of sticking together all the time. But, just a couple hundred meters between you and your teammates can result in some really nice flanks that can confuse the enemy team and really net you some nice and easy engagements. Meanwhile, we've got Kenzetsu here, keeping an eye on NZ Girl and Terabad, seeing if they can get a pick through the windows. But by doing that now, especially with the circle moving in, they're going to have to move very, very shortly, and I don't know if they're going to be able to make anything out of this little push here.
It looks like Psycho and Kenzetsu do actually have another teammate, but they are even further split up. He's much further inside the zone, a compound across. I'm not sure what's going on there, but these two stuck on the coast, obviously knowing that NZ Girl and her team are in those buildings. So with them moving in, it looks like Psycho got knocked out by Terabad. Kenzetsu just doesn't have a line of sight on him himself, so unfortunately it looks like Suko's out of luck here as Kenzetsu looks to move down the hill towards Terra, hopefully getting a bit closer to his teammate to help.
By doing that, he's going to run straight into the line of sight of the guys that were in the double stack there. He's actually going to play really, really aggressively up here on that building, and he might actually be able to get a pick here if he plays it carefully enough, or he's going to go for the revive.
Terabad not opting to go out onto that balcony, not too sure how many players are in this team that he's fighting currently, and Suko makes the crawl towards this underneath this balcony, so it looks like to be a free revive actually. Terabad not opting to go onto that balcony. He actually opens the door, and he baits Kenzetsu into stopping the revive. Kenzetsu not wanting to get jumped out on as he now returns to reviving, but Terabad looks to now have waited his time, playing very well by him actually, as he baits him out from stopping the revive, and then goes to check the balcony. He doesn't want to jump off though, not too sure where they are, so playing the safe side there as Suko gets revived. So well played by them. Superb. Still inside this double story over here. Looks to have a team. Power AU and Renaby moving in on them. It might be the end for him. He'll definitely hear this coming with his UMP in hand. He may actually get a kill on Power if he's not too careful. They are split up on different stories. Predge getting low though. Predge drops. Are these... Is this two different teams or... No, Superb is just in this building, completely separated though. It's Fallen. They're fighting between buildings with Superb just laying down upstairs. This could be a very good position for him actually. If one of these teams goes down, he could move in behind the remaining ones.
If he pushes now, he could easily get the jump on Power AU, maybe even manage to get the jump on Predge while he was on low health, but considering he's now back up to a decent amount of HP, in fact it looks like we're about to see some engagement here. Predge is right at the door.
Predge opened the door. Oh my god, they have no need to open the door themselves because tactically the enemies are on the opposite side of the building, so they're not going in that room. Superb must be going insane hearing all these footsteps and no one opening the door. This is incredible.
Wow.
With all their focus.
Wow.
With all their focus in the other direction, none of them need to go into that room because it offers no tactical advantage to them. Superb is just surviving laying down in the middle of that room. They'll be kicking themselves, Predge and his teammates, when they rewatch this stream if they choose to do so, but that is incredible.
Honestly, if Superb, all he has to do here is play the long game. As long as Predge and Power manage to hold the fort down on this house, he might actually be able to get to last quite a while and secure his team a high amount of placement points if the rest of his team decides to go down. This could actually be this could be a game changer. It could be a game changer for this match.
Definitely. He may get unlucky here, though, as the guys in that building might choose to check out the edges of that circle by going into that room. So we'll have to just wait to see what happens there. As Futes does drop in another area of the map. Terabad and NZ Girl just moving into that warehouse. Nice and safe. Superb has backed off. I'm not sure if something's happened here. Has he engaged on them? It looks like they have as they've blown out that door. I'm not sure what happened. Someone must have opened the door and seen him in there. But he looks to have dropped a player with a crate there on the ground. Power, you looking to move in. Superb not watching too closely and does drop, unfortunately. It looks like
finally got
did Superb get a kill? I didn't notice, but he possibly did get a kill.
I didn't see it either. We'll have to check the scoreboard at the end of the game there, I think.
Definitely. Looks like Suko actually surviving. He makes it to that building. It looks like a bit of engagement had happened there as a few players had dropped, but he's still alive. So carrying his team there. It looks to be only 3 teams in that next zone with Godless, the sole survivor, on that eastern side, but with Tintin and another team holding those middle compounds. It could be a lot of kills racking up for them very soon as he third persons to the left window.
We do have lots of teams currently on the outside of the zone on the eastern side, which means that we're going to see a lot of firefights as people try to run in and get themselves a nice and early secure.
Definitely. Policeman's team now coming in fast and hard there from in a vehicle from the north. So just securing that compound, very well played by them. Going aggressive early, securing that compound. So when those other players move in, they'll have the advantage peeking through those windows. Now Fallen, meting up. He's on high alert now, knowing that that's still that team over there, as they heard a lot of gunfire. Not too sure what happened there. Turns out it was only one player in the building all along, but they probably thought another team had pushed in from behind. Looks to jump on the bike and may just run away.
Really smart choice by him, actually. It means that he won't have to deal with any of the teams that are running through the field here. Hopefully, if he can avoid all the fire, he'll be able to get into the circle here and at least place a little bit higher if he plays the game a little bit more passively here.
Definitely. Godless did spot him there, but chooses to just not get involved. Fallen finds a nice little shack and will camp out there for now in the north. A very nice spot for him. Not too close to the edge, so it does have a lot of space to move, but is in the middle of a field, so something may be coming from later on.
We've got all the teams moving in now, converging on each other. We're going to see some epic firefights here. Danknam taking one out here, making a move on Mr. Matt Damon, trying to catch him while he's on low HP. He's getting shot at himself from possibly another angle.
Definitely. He's in a rush, though, because that zone is coming. If he doesn't get a first aid kit off very soon, he will drop himself. A lot of kills happening there with everyone having to break cover and make a run for that news circle. But Danknam is in the run. He will see undercover. He may choose to shoot him down. He does. He takes a few shots.
Go for it.
Drop him. Looks like he's going to die to the zone. Yeah, he gets knocked out by the zone. A lot of players, indeed, getting knocked out by the zone there. But with undercover, cleaning up, getting a nice few kills there for his trouble. Only 23 people alive as Godless took out undercover, actually. He opts to not get a nice kill point there with was that NZ girl downstairs. So 2 different players from 2 different teams in the same watchtower, sorry. I don't know. People have so many different names of that building. I get lost sometimes. I've combined Harry Potter Tower to Watchtower, and it's been Witch Tower. I'm not sure what's going on there. Sonny, checking out the crate. He looks to have got an MK14, the new rifle on his back. Incredible gun. A lot of kill feeds, kill streak videos actually popping up on YouTube recently with that gun. So it looks to be extremely powerful. I'm not sure if a nerf is incoming, but with a nice scope, it can do some serious damage for him and the rest of his team on the southern side of that new zone.
Funnily enough, all the teams that went to the far eastern side as a response to the previous zone are now have to move again. So anyone that's been moving back and forth between these zones here is not having a lot of luck. Stylen now really trying to get an eye on this other team down here. They're going to be able to get a couple hits on Sunny there.
Stylen gets knocked out for his troubles, though, by a very nice headshot there by Sardu with the SKS. Gets dropped. XPL moves in for the revive, though, just at the right height, that barrier, not to get shot. But Sunny gets away nicely. Sardu reloads and breaks cover to get just inside that zone now as it begins to move in. Those guys, it may not be too good, though, for the guys on the roof, as they have to move early. He may not have enough time to heal as RN goes down. A lot of players drop into this zone pressure. But that watchtower, nice position, but they are all having to break cover. It's too insane to keep track of the amount of players dying right now. But suffice it to say, a lot of people died to the west.
Yeah, I think this is quite possibly the most brutal zone we've seen in a CGL game so far. Like, the amount of people that have died in both the past 2 stages of this zone has been unparalleled. I don't think we've ever seen this in a CGL, and it's just been a luck of the draw, really, when it comes to this zone, which is a really strong element of Battlegrounds. You know, you can play as good as you like, but sometimes the zone is just not going to be in your favour. Headlow going down there. I believe he's still got the M24 in hand, so might be able to make some use of it on the other teams down here, but game is now getting to a CQC point, which sniper rifles aren't as effective.
Looks to only be 4 teams left. Godless still alive on the top story of that building, with NZGL obviously knowing that he's up there. He can't actually leave that building, I don't believe, without taking a little bit of damage. So looking to camp out there as long as possible. Is that 3 different teams? It is. Matt Damon.
That is, yes.
Matt Damon throwing a nade upstairs, trying to see what he can do. NZGL inside.
Oh, he hits NZGL.
Oh, no, he threw it in the bottom story. My apologies. He probably doesn't know that Godless is actually up there. So a lot of action going on. NZGL just trying to stay inside, medding up as much as possible. Matt Damon not wanting to open the door. It's incredible. 3 players from 3 different teams, all in such a close proximity, but none of them having line of sight on each other. NZGL looked to have thrown a smoke there and may well make a run for the door with its cover.
Quite an incredible game we're witnessing here. Lots of movement from the zone, forcing players to make rushes that they definitely wouldn't want to make. Matt Damon gets the kill there on NZGL. Godless now forced to get out of that Witch Tower and managed to get the drop on Matt Damon as well. Has to really make a break for it to get to the circle now, though.
Untainted did actually drop Matt Damon, and because of that, didn't have his eye out, but no, Policeman does take out Godless. So those players, unfortunately, at the Watchtower have dropped Policeman and his team in a prime position here as they move around the UAS. Sunny dropping Chad, with the Scarel, as Policeman looks to move around the back right-hand side of this building with all 4 players inside. It looks to be
we're now going ourselves a dead. Sorry.
That's all right. It looks to only be 2 teams left alive, actually. All 4 players on each team alive. Untainted, though, is the only one knocked out as Chad looks to be revived momentarily. But it's incredible. They're in a stalemate here, Headlow and Policeman, both on opposite ends of this building, not wanting to peek, obviously third-personing it, keeping an eye out. But as Headlow takes a few drinks with that M24, not too good, not too much use for him here in these close proximities, but Rabs with the smoke grenade out, looks to be throwing it down, might be getting some cover. He does peek. Headlow would have seen that. Headlow running away from a possible HE grenade. Turns out it's just smoke, but nice bait by him. They're all back now behind that corrugated metal fence. It's a dead stalemate. They have got the circle, though, so Policeman's team at a disadvantage now. Gonna have to break cover very soon, and with that, Sardu is gonna clean up, I'm assuming.
Right now we're seeing a number advantage on Chad's team, but then again, they do not have the circle advantage. It's going to be down to who can aim the best, who can move the best. Policeman going down, Chad moving up to sort of cover him. Rabid's now in the building, going to try and get a shot on Headlow through the window, not going to work out for him. Sunny gets the drop.
Looks to be a 1v2 here with Sunny alive. Chad incredibly low. It's a 1v1. Chad has no help. Sunny clutches the 1v2. Cleans out the entire team, in fact. 6 kills in total that game. Incredible clutch hit by him there with that 1v2. He spotted Policeman on the flank early in that fight. Takes him out. Drops Rabs through the window and then cleans up the final 2 kills. Chad, unfortunately, was incredibly low, so there wasn't much he could do there. But with the final player dropping, that's incredibly bad luck with Chad's team racking up a total of 12 kills, in fact. So no measly game by them. Godless's team, only 1 kill. So very well carried there by Godless to get those placement points. But Sunny and Untainted's team, incredibly well done. Sunny, my choice would have to be the MVP for that clutch there at the end. That was
There's no question in my mind. Sunny managed to keep his calm, chose which plays to engage at the right time, and thus the results paid off. That is just definitely how you. That's how to clutch a game. Take note, people. That is how to do it.
Indeed. Anyway, thank you so much for watching the game 2 of tonight. We have one more game coming up for you very shortly, so don't go anywhere. But we'll see you soon. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the final game of the night, Game 3 of High Top Division. Incredible game, Game 2, with Succulent Esports bringing home the victory. An incredible clutch by the sub Sunny. So well played by him indeed. Gat Kaki coming in with the second place. Unfortunate there for Policeman's team, as they did not have much luck there with the zone, but with Godless carrying his team, Taiwanese Titans, to a nice third place. What was your take from the previous game, Cam?
Absolute insanity is the only way I could put it. Like, Sunny's clutch at the very end there, despite him only being a sub, you say. He was a sub, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. He only got subbed into that game. I'm not sure if he was involved in the first one.
Still, I believe so, like him being subbed in and him being able to pull out a clutch like that is absolutely insane. You know, it's not often do we see a 4v1 like that in PUBG, but when that sort of stuff happens, it is, you know, it's stuff to behold, really. Not to mention that the circle itself was aggressive in that game. Players seemed to be playing a little bit more passively in comparison to what we saw in the first game. The circle, on the other hand, had other ideas and forced a lot of people to move a lot of the time, which we saw a lot of deaths happening in the late stage of the game simply due to the circle forcing people to move. So it was interesting to see how people played. It was interesting to see how the circle forced them to move. So very intense match. Looking forward to seeing if we can have a similar result here with this final round.
Definitely, with just a few more seconds before that plane spawns in. Hopefully an incredible game for Game 3 to finish off the night here. As we see that plane, we open up the map. I'm not sure. We can't see it just yet as I say that. Is this... Oh, here it is. I thought something had happened. I thought of the worst, but no, it is coming indeed in on the eastern side, just a bit south of the middle, but flying in from the east, just to the north of military. So unlike the first two games, I'd say a lot of the northern half of the map is cut off from those immediate long shoot. So a lot of action hopefully will be towards military, which I am a personal fan of, but also not much action going to be at Georgia Pole, Roz and Yasmaya, etc. Just off the bat, as they try to push up that direction. I'm sure some teams will, but probably won't be able to make it off the bat.
A lot of people jumping over military I've seen. Hopefully some of them probably going to be making their jumps towards either power plant. Some appear to be going to shelter, some even prisons, some lumberyard. Got a couple of people jumping out over military base as well. Also a few people playing a bit more passively, going for cars along the southern coastline there of the main island.
Definitely. It looks like Xphere's team actually looking to make a last-minute call and jumping back towards military. They will be the second team there, though, as the other team did choose to opt to go there immediately. So they'll land. Hope if they find some guns, they may actually get some very nice kills off the bat on some very well-skilled players. So if they get lucky there, it could be bad luck there, as Tintin moves in on that scaffolding and the rest of his team just a bit further behind.
And not to mention that, you know, we're in a stage of the tournament now where things are getting really tight as far as scores go, especially within the higher-ranking teams. So every little kill can count and can be what sort of nets the victory there.
Definitely. Actually, numerous teams are on the exact same score at the end of last week, so every kill does matter, as you say, with Tintin finding a nice M16. Unfortunately for those guys at Apartments, only picking up shotguns and SMGs off the bat, but Tintin finding some nice assault rifles, actually, an M4 and an M16. Be interesting to see what he does here if he finds a scope to go along with that.
And he got himself a nice CQC-orientated rifle. He managed to get himself, is that a level 3 helmet as well? Wow, awesome. Finding some amazing loot. Even a fully-fledged med kit straight out of the bat. Another M16, so he's now got plenty of ammo. He's a little bit spoiled for choice now. Got plenty of loot to kick off the bat, and he might actually be able to cover some of his teammates here from the other group if they run into any resistance.
Definitely. The rest of his team quite close by indeed, and he actually left 2 other M16s in that building, so he will be letting his team know, but they don't look too short for weapons themselves, as they've found M16s, M4s, and SCARs. So they're getting nicely equipped as the rest of the team at Apartments. Giraffe, no fear actually, as he's on the top of this building. Surprisingly, XP just on the wrong end of scaffolding, not being able to take too many shots at him just yet, but either he doesn't know that there's someone up there, or he's just brave as hell. Now we have a look at this circle spawning in on the northeastern side of the map. So we've really toured the entire map this evening in terms of circle locations, but this one looking to be a Yaz Stauber finish, which will be entertaining nonetheless with numerous players over on the western side of the map. Lots of action going to be following very shortly from there.
Very similar theme from last game where, we're going to get a run over kill there from Psycho Goon running over Big Cod's dog nice and early in the game there. So unfortunate for him, but vehicles in this early stage, when you can't find guns, may as well start using the front bumper of a vehicle.
Indeed. Incredibly unlucky. You never want to be the on the receiving end of a vehicle kill, but really, it's not much you can do there when you land in the middle of nowhere with only a tree to protect you. It looks like Tintin and XP actually leaving military, opting to head a bit further west, just looting up a bit more as Xfear and the rest of his team, his other teammate, follow behind as they all look to leave, not wanting to get involved because, as you said, placement, even though kills are good, placement points are better. So opting to not get in too much trouble early on, possibly don't have too many meds to spare, so they look to be leaving military. Knowing that zone is quite a distance away, hoping to find a vehicle on that western road and getting out of there early. With Policeman's team and Sardude's team, I believe their team is moving in on Yasmaya. Won't be the first guys there, though, as they opt to go to the western side. May have sussed out that there's some people in those apartment blocks, or they're just a fan of those sugar cube buildings.
Yeah, most definitely. They've decided to it looks like they've picked both sides of Yasna there, trying to avoid all contact, get some loot nice and early. We've also got Sunny and Headlow's team making a push up to Severny, staying semi-close to the circle so they don't have a lot of ground to make up, all the while getting themselves some nice loot in the process.
Definitely. Sardude probably did spot Policeman's car and chose to maybe duck away from Yasmaya, but now we're on board with Sunny, the previous game's clutch master, or MVP. Hasn't found a helmet yet, but he's fighting that M16, so he's getting kitted here with a side of Severny to himself. It'll be interesting to see what becomes of him later on in this game, as he finds it 8 times, which is very nice, and Sardude returns from his trip to Yasmaya.
Nice little getaway vacation, if you will. Meanwhile, I think we've got, 2-3 teams currently sitting in Yasnaya, Polyana right now. Both on either sides, they're looting the apartments accordingly. Whether we'll see any engagement there, I'm not sure. The teams might play a bit more passively, attempt to get those last-minute placement points for the end of tonight's matches, or they could try and go for those kill points, depending on where they're feeling a little bit more confident.
Definitely. I believe there is actually 3 teams at Yaz with 2 full teams. I believe BLT is the only one there for his own team, with his teammate Big Cost actually getting run over earlier on, as we commented on. I'm not sure what happened to the rest of his team, but if BLT's by himself so early on in this game, incredibly unlucky for him in that southwestern side of Yaz.
He is in the circle already, though, which puts him as an advantage. He is all by himself, look at that. So he is all by himself, but he is already in the circle. He can hole up in an apartment here. It doesn't have to move for quite a considerable amount of time unless the circle really doesn't like him, in which case he might be able to score a bit of extra placement points by just waiting out and getting everyone to kill each other off first.
Definitely incredibly unlucky for his teammates there, but he'll have a work cut out for him with staying alive for the rest of this game. But with being one of the few teams that actually are already in the zone, as you said, he won't have to move for quite a while yet.
Exactly right, but on the other side of the equation, a lot of other teams currently sitting outside of the player zone right now. You've got Come On Me and his team sitting in the apartments right now, opposite from school. And it looks like they do actually have a teammate in school, so they're rather spread out here, getting eyes on the guys over at Rosehock. We do have a potential engagement appearing over here as well, over at Rosehock. 2 different teams starting to eye each other off. They're all not particularly geared to the max, so we'll see a bit of a firefight here, where some people will be staying at long, some people will be moving nice and short, trying to engage with the ranges that their weapons allow.
Definitely, with a lot more action soon to come, hopefully, with those teams travelling towards the zone. It looks like Smiles and Thor Raider are just outside this building, which Unwanted and Traz are very close to, or inside, actually. And they definitely, I believe they must know that they're not playing safe just for the hell of it. They do know that there's players in there. I'm not sure if Traz and Unwanted know themselves, because Traz was playing very aggressive and openly. Thor Raider does see these guys coming down the outside of this wall. He may get a quick, easy 2 kills from behind there.
He is going to do it
nicely with the AK. Well played by him. Unwanted's teammates not too close, so they look to be backing off actually with only the micro Uzi in hand. So incredibly unlucky for them to just walk up the outside of that wall and get shot in the back. Not much they could have done there, but with halfway Crook in a bush with the micro Uzi, there's not much he can do either. Fallen moving in behind, he might actually spot halfway. If he does have his eyes open, he could spot him inside that bush. It is incredibly difficult to do so, but Thor Raider finishes off Unwanted, and halfway just watching as these things watch it. If he had a better gun, he probably could get a kill or 2 here, but if he only does have a micro Uzi, that is incredibly unlucky for him as he sits in that bush and waits it out.
His options are very limited, and the kills that Thorader got there might have actually been somewhat thanks to Smiles, because it looked like Smiles was making some moves there, making some noise on the other side of the house to sort of distract the other two that Thorader managed to take out there. So there might be part of thanks there to Smiles for baiting them sort of to an angle, and then Thorader flanking them accordingly.
Definitely. It looks like he may actually have a teammate still alive halfway, sitting in that bush. I'm not too sure, but it looked like he was a bit further away to the north. Or that may well be a different team, or if he's just the last one alive. I'm not sure. It's similar colouring, but they may just be a completely separate team. But with only 2 of his teammates dying, they may just not have had a 4th to begin with.
Halfway quick making a move now on the radar and fall. Down to very low health, not going to make it out there at all. Unfortunately, Fallen managed to get the kill on him, and that was an instant, therefore knocking his team out of the game nice and early there.
Interesting what he did there. He actually did have an M16, so I'm not sure what he chose. I don't think I agree with what he chose to do there, waiting it out in that bush for so long. He wasn't on low health, and he definitely had their backs turned to him as they were looting his friends. But he chooses to push up on them late as they have moved off. So I'm not exactly sure what he chose to do there. But nevertheless, unlucky for them, as always. It's not good to get locked out early in these games. But a nice few kills there by Thorader and Fallen.
Circle's now moving in, forcing the guys at Georgia Pole, the guys at Gaka, Primorsk, anyone from military base has also got to make rushes across now. XP and his team are coming across the hill, coming across the bridge there, but they're about to run into Tintin and Xphere as well, so we might see some. And there's also K2 down there as well. So XP and Xphere and their team, they might be luckily, it looks like the K2V guys have managed to sort of get clear before these guys made it across the bridge, which saved an engagement.
Definitely. They've got 2 buggies in hand as they move across that bridge safely without taking any damage at all, actually. So that choice for them earlier on to move west did work out for them as they cross over to the mainland easily without too much difficulty. They look to have they have plenty of weapons, but their loot still looks to be on the level 1 side of things with the bits of level 3 scattered here and there. Looks to be another 2 teams. Yes,
always tough about filming out like looting out military base as a team of 4. You've always got to split the loot accordingly. Sometimes leaves you with less than desirable level 1 gear.
Definitely. It looks like a few teams opting to stay out in George just a bit longer as the zone has moved well past them as they continue to loot. Obviously not very happy with what they have, but hopefully they have a vehicle or a plan to get out of there very soon, as that zone will soon close fully and that damage will increase.
So we've got Heldo and JC, the 2 teams starting to move down onto each other. They're heading in the same direction. We might see some early contact here. In the meantime, Chemical Nova on the north side of the map here, getting some nice and easy loot. He's got himself some level 3 helmet and a level 2 vest right now, which sets him up for some engagements later on down the track if we see a lot of engagements here on the north side of the map.
Definitely, he heard Rendog move past him. He's in the middle of this team actually at the moment. As Headlow and Sardu, they may well run into each other here. Rendog actually turning around though, heading back towards his team. No, it looks like Headlow's pulling over at that compound, just sussing it out for now. But with no players in there at the moment, he may well move in.
And that's not going to matter either way, because Rendog and Headlow are now going to have to make a move south as well over Stalba.
Looks to be Chemical Nova just hiding out still in that building. Rendog moving straight past Chemical, not wanting to get in too much trouble straight away. Looks to have survived this time. But
they're on the same team anyway.
Are in the same team anyway. I thought that at the beginning that they're in the same team, but then when we were in the overview, I saw his name was completely yellow and then blue. Obviously, that's just the selected player. I did not notice he was selected at the time. My apologies. They are in the same team. Anyway, onto this. It looks like Champs and Nutshot are still way out in Georgia Pole. So I'm not sure if they have a vehicle, but if they don't, they're in a bit of trouble as this zone is going to move in just a minute or two. So I'm not sure what their plan is there. I haven't seen them with a vehicle, but it looks like they have a Dacia.
But Nutshot is on very low HP right now. He's got to have some bandages or something sorted out, good to go. They have definitely outstayed their welcome at this point, and the fact that Champs is this low health now, he's going to start bandaging, but the fact that he isn't popping a med kit now starts to concern me slightly.
Definitely. It was an interesting play. I'm assuming they must have enough meds because they wouldn't have just stayed out there thinking they can tank it without it. They're definitely experienced enough to know that's not going to work out for them. So hopefully just getting a few bandages completed while he's waits for Nutshot to get in the vehicle. But hopefully they make the journey and without too much difficulty. That red zone, a lot of confusion actually if the red zone spawns on players. As you see that red zone just then, there's no players around. So that myth has been debunked. Anyway, just thought I'd get that out of the way. Many players believing that red zones only spawn on people. There's a red zone and there's nowhere nearby. So anyway, back to the actual game at hand. Xphere and his teammates all move in on that compound. K2 driving straight past, not wanting to get involved as Xphere pulls in. K2 just drives away.
Xphere just having to get some shots down on that other team in the other compound. Going to try and get some nice suppressive fire down. Running 8 times on an SKS there, so he's definitely got the weaponry advantage at this point.
Definitely. It looks like Terabad and NZGL get dropped by Keep It Real just then as Lone Kebab finishes off K2. So unfortunate for them as K2 has to run away from Xphere and then run straight into the hands of another team. Incredibly unfortunate for them, but just the way these games go sometimes.
Luck of the draw sometimes. That is unfortunately the way Battlegrounds can play out at times. It is a very skill-driven game, but by the same token, there are some times where luck is a huge, huge factor.
Definitely the main thing is, of course, the circle, but with other reasons and such. Champs, actually, they've gone straight north instead of trying to travel through Roshok, which is a smart play by them because, as we can see, there are many teams around that area. So that experience showing now as they travel north and look to head back down towards the zone along that main road of Severny.
We do have a lot of players actually making a push around the northern side of the map here, going a long distance, trying to sort of move around Stalba and come in from an angle that other teams won't be expecting them from. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out for them. They have taken the long route. The circle may even play on their favour and put them on the slower moving side of the circle, which is a huge advantage to be in at that stage of the game.
Indeed, Champs and Nutshot now just making it to the zone, but it has begun moving again, so they can't stop just yet. Fallen now, back to where we saw that fight earlier on, just outside Roshok, moving around with a silenced UMP and an M16. Looks to have some decent loot with that tier 3 backpack and military vest and also a tier 2 helmet. So just running around trying to spot out so many any enemies. Wow, tongue twister there. Any enemies in the vicinity, but with his team just a bit further into Ros, he looks to move back to safety. Safety in numbers as always. There is obviously another team to the north of them just across the river, but not in eye view at the moment as Champs' vehicle looks to move in on Sunny and Headlow. They probably haven't spotted each other or heard each other yet, but as he moves in towards the zone, they may very well run into each other. It's a definite possibility here as they move up that mountain.
Certainly going to hear the car moving up behind them as well, which will turn their attention to them as well. In fact, it looks like we might see an engagement any moment now if the guys decide to stop at any point along the hillside here. They may even decide to go straight up towards Stalba, which will put them straight into the clutches of another group. I can't quite get the names there, but it's going to be... In fact, they've kind of sandwiched themselves in between two groups now. They've stopped in quite possibly one of the worst spots there.
Yep, it is actually that Chemical Nova and Headlow team, I believe, that we were talking about earlier. They are a bit split up with Sardude and Untainted a bit further east, and then Headlow and Sunny to the west. Okay.
Sunny.
Xphere drops Chemical Nova. I'm not exactly sure where he did that from, but with him dropping and Xphere knocks out both... Xphere just killed an entire team. I'm getting a bit confused here, trying to watch the game without much noise, but as one of the players drops, Xphere is fighting a completely different battle. I just saw one player get knocked out and assumed it was the same action. No, they have moved up the hill now, not looking to... They drop Champs, and another player still alive. I don't think there's much...
Nutshot is still up, he's down.
As he drops. Okay, I thought both of them died, and then apparently they were just reviving each other. I'm very confused. Anyway, Xphere, in a completely different fight over that compound, looks to have finished that up, however, as he looks to move in and revive his teammates. A lot of action going on at the moment. It's incredibly hard to keep track of all of it, and Archer's doing an incredible job on the camera to get as much of it on stream as possible. But with those two teams now, another two have... probably heard that what's going on over there at the north, as that zone is going to move in very soon. They won't have much time to loot, but as they move south towards that zone, JCG and his team are sitting there waiting, definitely knowing what's going on down there.
Definitely got the high ground here, which puts them at somewhat of an advantage. They can keep this, they can keep the high ground here and pick their moment. They might be able to get the drop on these guys down here, get a nice few early kills in, and secure themselves a bit more of a place here in the CGL on the high top league. The guy Headlow are moving they're moving sort of along the hill here, not giving themselves a lot of cover.
Indeed, it looks like they're just bidding their time and waiting it out as Headlow and then finish looting up. The zone's got another 90 seconds on the clock, so there's no rush yet. We may not see action for quite some time as those other teams are all moving in on Yasmaya. It's a full-on Yasmaya finish here with plenty of teams all opting to get inside those buildings early before the zone pushes them into places they don't really want to be. Fat Texty getting shot from the side, unfortunately, getting taken on by two different teams here as he gets dropped by Psycho. Psycho, I do believe, and he finishes off that kill. Unlucky there for Fat Texter in an impossible spot there, getting spotted out by two different teams. So as he moves in, he's still got his teammates alive, so there's still possibilities for his team, but as he gets dropped there, not much he could do there.
The roughest part about using a defilade like that, because he had to cover against the guys in like Crossy 93 in the courthouse there, but unfortunately it wasn't enough to cover him from the rest of Yasna. So bit of a catch-22 there. He took a risk, fortunately didn't pay off for him.
Indeed, as all those teams start to move into Yaz, they will move in quietly, but with all those buildings surrounding, it's going to be hard for them to get some easy pickoffs with so much buildings in the way, obviously. So many chances to just duck down behind and get revived again. But as those teams move in from the south now, Vulcan goes down. Sky is Blues just below 50% health, just a bit higher up on the hill as he watches over this.
I'm kind of interested to know what happened there, because the Sky is Blue, Volk, JC, Danizel, they all had the high ground, and they all had a decent amount of cover too, so they should have had the advantage there. They obviously didn't quite manage to execute that as well as they should, and it didn't quite pay off for them. Unfortunate.
Unfortunate indeed, as Headlow and Sunny jump on a bike and make a run for it, as Sardude and their other teammate also are on board another vehicle. Not wanting to take this fight at the moment with that zone moving in, just opting to get out and get into the safety and probably cut them off.
In fact, it looks like they are going for a straight cutoff here. It looks like they're about to demount the vehicles, and that might actually prove to be quite a devastating blow on JC and Volk. They've all managed to get themselves back up into the fight, but they are making their way straight into the clutches of Headlow, so that might be a very costly battle for them. Meanwhile, Zephyr and the guys in this part of the battle, are these two separate teams battling out here? I can't quite tell at the moment.
It does indeed look like Zephyr has that upper hand with his team. They have dropped a few of the enemies, and I believe they've already cleaned up entirely with those guys already gone down. They're just moving into loot now on that northern side of Yaz. Those several teams to the south, I do believe, I'm not too sure if they're all just split up, however, but they would have definitely heard the commotion going on, knowing a general vicinity of where they are. Does actually look like possibly at least two, possibly three teams, with BLT not moving an inch, I believe, from that very beginning of the game. He hasn't left the same area of buildings since he arrived at the very start. So very well done by him, as Luke Ultra gets the Khan on the H out and takes some very nice shots on Giannis and knocks him out.
Luke making a move to get some cover, ensures that he's not completely out of position here. It looks like it's going to be a sniper rifle battle here. We've got Kaskin here using the SKS, takes out Electric. Luke Ultra going for a running reload here. He is being taken hits, though, from Kaskin. Might get caught out here. He manages to just make it to that tree by the skin of his teeth, and it might be able to get Electric back up accordingly.
Extremely unlucky there. It looks like Electric was finished, however, by disabuse, but with Giannis down over there at that rock, Luke Ultra heals up, gets the Khan on the 8 out again, takes some shots, doesn't land any just yet, does now land one on Kaskin, avenging his fallen teammate Electric there, but does get dropped by Graham with the M4.
Horribly out of position there. There wasn't a whole lot they could do. They had the low ground, very limited cover, was not going to pan out for them. Meanwhile, on the northern side on the hill, just below Starber, JC, I think I just saw JC and Headlow engaging each other again once again. Meanwhile, Xfear and Trosha engaging as well. But yeah, it looks like the battle has picked up back again on this northern side of the map. Headlow managing to finish off it was Sardu, pardon me, finishing off Vulcaners in that case there. And he's also Headlow gets the drop on Danizel.
Definitely, as that zone continues to move in, a nicely placed airdrop actually was dropped there on the street of Yasmaya, but Headlow cleaning up nicely there with a few kills on Sky Blue and Danzel. That airdrop just sitting there nicely in the middle of the road. I'm not sure if any teams are going to be ballsy enough to check it out, but with these two teams now clashing, Ballbags moving in, Bazooks also with Hakai also nearby, but Ballbags has a full team alive. They're all stuck inside that building, actually, as they have got them pinned there. Not too sure if they want to move in just yet. Uncertain with all the close buildings if there's any other enemies nearby.
Smoke's deployed, so it looks like he's trying to get some sort of cover off via the nades here. He is all by himself, I think. No, never mind. He's spread out between two buildings here. If Ballbags and his team decides to rush Hakai down here, he will be in trouble, completely outgunned, and he'll have to use the choke points to his advantage to try and feed some of them through his kills here.
Definitely. I do believe he may be in a bit of luck here, though, as the doors were covered by his teammates, but his teammates now look to be moving back, leaving Hakai. Wow,
no.
Brutal there by his team as they choose to leave him behind. He's hiding behind the couch, actually, with all the smoke. He could well get away. It's actually possible to hide behind that couch unless the player completely moves into the room and looks behind it. If they just check the doorway, he could get away with it. But if they are certain there's a player in this building, I really don't see him out here for Hakai.
He was throwing grenades at Hakai was, and I think Fallen's pretty much onto him now. It's a matter of just figuring out where he is exactly in the building and whether it'll pay off for him. He'll have to get the drop on these players if he plans on getting out alive.
It actually looks like VRAS down the bottom of this cliff with an exploding UAS right now. Policeman and Rabs know he's there, checking it out. They've blown up the vehicle. V is just on a mission now, legging it back into the water, not wanting to get involved on that uphill fight as he swims away. That zone, still 2 minutes to go before it moves in, so plenty of time for him to reposition. But he may well now be noticing Master Shiv out of nowhere. RKO just drives straight off the cliff and into the ocean. That was incredible. Anyway, well played by him there, not wanting to get in too much trouble with Policeman, but moving into assist V now as he jumps into the water with that day. So that was incredible. He may well have been going for a takeout, trying to run someone over, but just unfortunately missed. But that was definitely a sight to behold.
Certainly a commitment, and it would have just been even better if he managed to get one of Policeman's team and managed to slap him into the water with him. That would have been an excellent little kill there. Fortunately, didn't quite manage to do it, but it was still an impressive sight nonetheless.
Definitely. With that new zone, it looks like a lot of players are going to have to move in from the south. Unfortunately, straight through Yasmaya with not much room to spare. BLT, one of them, has been camped out in one of those buildings for a considerable amount of time now and will have to make a move soon enough, so hopefully he can sneak through. I do want to see him clutch a top 3 finish. With just one player left on their team, it's really unlucky that the rest of his teammates did drop, so if he can somehow manage a top position, that would be incredible. Anyway, with multiple teams moving in through these buildings, it looks like Zerg and the rest of his teammates are going to move in around a building that already has another player in it. They could get shot in the back here as they move past it. They are unaware that Romulus is in that little hut there. He definitely heard them. He's got his UMP out, ready and waiting. He will have to make a move soon. BLT also on a move now, crossing the road. He may well get caught out here, but he will see Zerg and his team move across the road first. He's watching it out. He climbed up the little... He takes out Pole. Well shot by him. Moves up that little watchtower and takes a shot. Not much his teammates can do here. He goes for the nade, looking to finish off that kill as Zerg, not exactly sure what he's aiming at. He may have an idea, but hasn't got a scope on him at the moment. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to get a revive on Pole until he gets back behind that wall. He tries to peek over and Giraffe finishes him off. Incredibly unlucky there. Not much he could do. Giraffe, another solo, interfering. BLT would not be happy that happened, but Giraffe now moving in. Very lucky there for Zerg and Pole indeed. But as Giraffe takes the opportunity to run across the road, I'm not sure if he understands what he just did there. But
time that to perfection and use a bit of hardcore parkour there to sort of, come across on an angle that the other guys weren't expecting. He's going to get into the circle now, and we're going to see a lot of teams. There are a lot of teams in this final circle now. 37 people left in a circle this small is unheard of, and as the circle tightens up to this final stage, we're going to see a lot of people dying off in this last stage here. Going to follow a very similar suit to the last game where it was just absolutely insane, very difficult for us to follow.
Indeed, that's exactly what happens though in these city finishes or town finishes with all those buildings. It's so easy for players to hide out. XP getting shot down there by Elmbot with the Scarrow. Very nice shot by him there as his teammates look to move in and get a quick revive there, but just out of position there, XP.
pretty much XP, trying to get to cover there. Not going to work out there. Finally gets knocked out there for Ownbot. And as you can see, Mr. Matt Damon's team on the far side of town there. Skygoon rocking a sniper rifle by the looks of things. He had an M24 in hand, I believe. So the M24 getting a lot of use tonight, if my vision is not failing me there.
No, indeed not. Helm, easy kill there, as his enemy must have been dropped several times because he bled out incredibly quickly. Crossy up in the top story of that apartment, checking out Sardude and such as they're up there on the hill. He's knocked him out. Well played by him, trying to finish him off. It looks like he'll be able to do that without too much of a worry. Untainted got the Kar 98 out, looking to take some shots. Sunny moving in from the back, as always. Looks to be in the most defensive position as he moves in late with that zone. Bazooks running around the bottom floor of that apartment, with the UMP out waiting to see if he can spot any enemies on the outside. Doesn't look like he can at the moment, but with Come On moving in behind him, it looks like there's going to be some intense firefights going on very soon in that very corner of the circle.
With a lot of these buildings in this next circle are finally out of play, so we're about to see a lot of players now make pushes out of their circles, out of these buildings, and try and find some ground to cover. Again, a lot of people now on the eastern side of this circle. In fact, plenty of people, lots of colours there on the map there for us to look at. It's quite difficult to actually see who's a part of who here, where everyone is, who's engaging what, but all I know is that it's an all-out death match in this part of the town right now. There's at least 3 teams in this engagement here, and possibly a 4th in that little witch's hut there as well, and they're going to be forced to move along with the next circle as well, so this is about to get absolutely ridiculous.
Definitely. With another minute and 20 seconds before that next zone happens, a lot of teams, I believe pretty much every team bar one, will have to move into that new zone with that green roofed building as mainly the only full-on building inside the circle, as a lot of teams will have to move. Sunny and his team have made it to one of those wire towers or telephone graph poles. I'm not exactly sure what they are, but I believe it's a telegraph pole.
Power pole.
Power line?
Yeah.
Okay. Whichever one it is. They've made it there safe. They've got a nice wall to protect themselves. It's probably the best one, actually, because a lot of them vary in height. Some of them are quite hard to hide behind, but with enough room to get revived, Sunny is going to get brought back up as this other team is camped out in the watchtower. We've got Godless in the top story, in the attic, actually, of this one building, waiting for Ballbags and his team to move in. I'm not too sure if Ballbags knows there's someone upstairs, but they definitely are playing it safe. Rab's also hiding out in the containers. Pole also very close indeed. It looks like lots of solo players with this zone, with just 2 walls between them. They're definitely having a bit of a joust here. Nades getting pulled, or both opting for the HE nade.
Here we go. Oh, they're both pulled. He's going to go for the throw.
Rabs completely misses. Pole gets more on target. Gets 60% of his health down. Rabs not wanting to move too far. The Ballbags' teams will obviously have heard those names and will know something's going on over there. It looks like Elm's team has taken the opportunity to move into that building and get a nice secured room and area to just cover from. They've held there, they went there early, and they haven't left yet, and they've got, as we talked about earlier, a bit of luck for them there, not having to move. Matt Damon now.
Circle now pushing everybody in. We've got to keep in mind now that there are very little buildings and very little cover now in this final circle, so people from all sides, bar this greenhouse, now have to start pushing in, and there's not going to be a lot of cover to share here. It's going to be a quick elimination game. As you can see, people going down left, right, and center. This game is speeding up, and it's speeding up fast. Goddles gets taken out, I believe, as well, just now.
Definitely, it looks like his teammates are going to be moving into for the quick revive before that circle. Chooses to move in again in 45 seconds. That circle actually has no buildings in it, not one bit of cover. It's just a field. It's going to be complete mayhem. This game will be over in the next minute. But
right now, it's going to be a game. It's going to be a game of who's the most ballsy, who can push in with who can prone in, who can get who can stay still the longest, and who can basically camouflage in with that field the best. Anyone who's got red hair right now is going to camouflage with that and field in very, very nicely. Probably the first time we'll ever see someone with red hair in this game camouflage nicely.
Definitely. It looks like 2 teams here over at this wall. Looking to get a move on right now with Elm's team still inside. Ballbags getting his full team revived there. Nicely done. Big Daddy gets shot at. Takes out where it is everywhere. Ballbags knocked out by Big Daddy though now. Big Daddy cleaning up nicely. Does get knocked out though. Sorry, other way around. Ballbags did knock out Big Daddy after hearing it taking shots. NZ kills Big Daddy himself. Smiles, moves in, finishes off Zerg. Knocked out Schoolyard. Smiles, knocked out Kiwi. Everything's going on right now as all those teams move in. Lots of prone, lots of snakes in the field. Looks like Sunny's team getting trapped in that building. It looks like Sunny's stayed too long in that building. I'm not sure what's happened there. He's not moving.
He's not going to get out.
Dying. He didn't move. Something must have gone wrong there as he does the play zone. Snakes in the field. 4 players left. Helm still stuck outside the zone.
He's not going to make it. He's not going to make it.
And It looks like a nice...
Oh, wait,
he
no, hang on,
drops
it's not over yet.
Bullbags.
He's gone. Wow.
Bullbags' team coming in with a victory. Very nice game there. Great wrap up for game 3. Well played by the number 1 team there, Bullbags, wrapping up a nice lot of kills. Anyway, thank you so much for watching game 3 and all the games tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Stick around for the host. It's always great fun to support our PUBG OCE players. And anyway, have a great night. Thank you for joining us. It's been Jungle Foe and Kamikaze.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.